This was the highly requested one. Seat belts.
I love seatbelts. Saved my life once.
Great, because men are more likely than women to be involved in a car crash, which means that they dominate the numbers of those that are seriously injured in them because of just the amount of men that are in them. That's why they pay higher car insurance. When a woman is involved in a serious car accident, she's 47% more likely to have been seriously injured and 71% more likely to be moderately injured, even when researchers control for factors such as height, weight, seatbelt usage, and crash intensity. She's also 17% more likely to die than a man. And it's all due to how the car is designed and for whom. Do you remember how I told you about reference man?
Yeah.
White, male, between the ages of 25 and 30, 155 pounds. That's what these things are tested on.
Yeah. I mean, that's very much me.
Listen.
Minus the age.
Here's the problem, though. Women tend to sit further forward when driving because they're shorter. Also, their legs are shorter than men, so they typically have to sit more forward so that they can reach the pedals. Okay? This is not the standard seating position that these dummies that they put in these cars are in. Also, women have less muscles in their neck. In a rear end collision, they're at a much higher risk for having whiplash and other neck and head related things.
Yeah.
Modern seats are too firm to protect women against whiplash, injuries. So they can hit their head back on
so there needs to be more give in the back.
Yes, yeah. Cars have been designed using car crash test dummies based on the average male. Situation is even worse for pregnant women.
Oh, I cannot imagine that.
In 2004, they did some research that suggested that pregnant women should use the standard seat belts, but 62% of third trimester pregnant women don't fit the design.
Oh.
There's still no legal requirement to test on anatomically accurate female dummies. Also, severe abdominal injuries because of where the seatbelt lies on the woman's stomach, and that's just not even being pregnant. It's just where it cuts and how their muscle structures are and how their abs are and stuff like that. Not designed with women in mind.
You know what, though? A woman could start a company and make a killing on something that could modify seatbelts when you put them on, or a headrest in the vehicle. They could get it like approved by regulatory bodies. You know what I mean? But then that's just another pink tax, right? Because you need to buy something else.
Yes.
Never mind. I got there. It took me a second, but I got there. Man, that makes me feel like a little bit less safe about you in a vehicle or my kids in a vehicle. Now,
if you are a woman in a public place, if you go into a cardiac arrest, you are less likely to get CPR by bystanders than a man is.
I think you're being dramatic or something?
They did this whole study.
Yeah.
They asked 520 men and women were asked to rank potential reasons someone might not want to provide bystander CPR to a woman based on the gender of the person giving it, right? And the most given answer by men was they didn't want to accidentally touch breasts and be accused of something, or people being intimidated on the fact that women have breasts. Okay. For women, it was they were afraid they were going to harm the victim and that they'd do more harm than good. That's the reason they didn't. But men, it was because of the anatomy of the woman. So the American Heart Association has been being pressured to make anatomically correct CPR dummies that actually have breasts.
That would be very helpful.
45% of men received bystander CPR. Only 39% of women did. And then men had a 23% higher odds of survival than a woman did if given CPR in a public setting. And then men had a 23% higher odds of survival than a woman did if given CPR in a public setting.
So even if they were given it,
it's not effective.
Because you're not practicing on it anatomically correct.
Well, and also these ideas that we have to be gentler on women. Women are more fragile and stuff like that. CPR is a violent thing. And if you're hearing cracking of the ribs, a lot of times you're doing it right.
Yeah.
So this idea of hurting a woman or inappropriately touching a woman would cause hesitation over women being more scared. They're not going to do it right. When you factor in that only 10% in general who suffer cardiac arrest outside of a hospital survive, it's a small percentage. But then when you say that men are 4% more likely to survive, that's significant. If you're talking about only 10% of people who even receive it to start with.
Yeah, you need every chance you can get.
Yeah.
With odds that low.
Also adjusted for race and composition of neighborhoods and stuff like that, and they were able to reproduce the same results.
So really it's just gender.
Yeah, they were more likely to die.
Yeah.
Right. That race didn't seem to play a factor in when it came to gender. I learned that voice recognition is not calibrated for female voices. It is based on a white male voice. It's a thing. It's known. Car companies, they've been transparent about this. Their recommendation, their fix for it was to tell women to speak louder and more directly. One woman bought a car.
More directly?
Yes. One woman bought a car, and her voice command would only listen to her husband.
Oh my God.
When she called the car company to resolve this obvious defect, the car company basically said, look, that's not going to get fixed. It's just never, it's just never going to work for you. This is what they told her.
Was she able to, like, return the car? Like, and not...
I don't know. I struggle with Siri listening to me all the time. They have been experimenting using a deep voice. Every time. Picks it up.
Can I hear the voice?
Hey, Siri.
Whoa! I beg your pardon.
Jay, it's work. Do you know how frustrated I get in that stupid red car? Google, too, their AI, male, white, have a very hard time picking up any accent and higher pitch frequencies.
You think AI could handle both?
Everything's tested on something called the reference man, which is a Caucasian white male aged, I think it's 25 to 30, that weighs 155 pounds.
Okay.
That is the reference point for, like, not just cars, like everything. We're going to talk about the weather.
Oh, okay.
Do you think the weather is sexist at all?
Absolutely not. It's natural.
Severe storms, those with feminine names, were almost 3 times as deadly on average as compared with those with masculine names. Why do you think there is more deadly?
When you're naming hurricanes, isn't it all women until you run through the alphabet and then you go to male? Isn't that how
it's
that works?
every other.
Oh.
This is an example. Hurricane Christina, Hurricane Christopher, okay? Same intensity. Why would Hurricane Christina be more deadly?
I don't know. Is there an answer to this even?
Yeah, there is.
Doesn't make any sense, though, because it's every other. It should not be any weight on the male name or the female name. It's every other. I'm flabbergasted.
It's because they're female names and they don't take them as seriously. Less people evacuate. They seem like nicer storms. They're not as serious as Christopher. Volunteers, which were roughly an even mix of men and women, were provided with a fictional storm and a weather map and asked whether they would choose to evacuate the area or stay behind, for instance. They were more likely to evacuate when Christopher was headed their way rather than Christina. And they were more likely to say they'd follow an order telling them to evacuate because Danny was on the way instead of Kate. Okay.
I'm speechless.
No, right? And then they...
See how deep in the psyche it is?
So although our findings do not definitively establish the processes involved, the phenomenon that they identified could be viewed as a hazardous form of implicit sexism. Using human names for hurricanes has been thought by meteorologists to enhance the clarity and recall of storm information. That's why they started naming them.
Okay.
This practice also taps into well-developed and widely held gender stereotypes with unanticipated and potentially deadly consequences.
Riddle me this. Is it that they take female storms less seriously, or is it that people are already just afraid of men? And really, it might not be they don't take the women one seriously. It could be everyone has this perceived view of men, like the man versus bear thing, as men are dangerous. So you hear a male name for a storm, and you're immediately like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, is it the fear of the man, or is it not believing the woman? Both of them are symptoms of, obviously, problems. Maybe people in the comments will comment on that. I don't know. Which one do you think it is? Is it that they take female storms less seriously, or is it that people are already just afraid of men?
They say this, although our findings do not definitively establish the processes involved, the phenomenon that they identified could be viewed as a hazardous form of implicit sexism. Using human names for hurricanes has been thought by meteorologists to enhance the clarity and recall of storm information. That's why they started naming them.
Okay.
But this practice also taps into well-developed and widely held gender stereotypes with unanticipated and potentially deadly consequences. The bottom line is, it is very important to consider when implementing new strategies, acknowledging implicit sexism, implicit racism, because it can have very deadly consequences.
Society is not super holistic with how we view people. When we look at data or laws or whatever, we don't take into account like the psychology of the people. Oh, we're going to switch and have it co-ed, male, female for naming hurricanes. Not taking into account the psychology of how do people view men and how do people view women. Yeah. And then that's how you kind of will view these storms slightly. Like that psychology and that wondering of people, like people aren't really open to psychology or even interested in it, like in how the people are actually thinking.
It was probably an equality thing to start with.
Yeah, sure.
I want you to guess when this was written.
I love games. Hit me.
A local severe thunderstorm watch made history when the alert was issued by a woman, a first for the Storm Prediction Center.
Okay. All right. It's got to be before 1980. I'm going to guess 1983.
I'm going to give you a little more information, and I want to see if that changes that or not. Okay. There are only 5 lead forecaster spots responsible for issuing severe thunderstorm and tornado watches for the entire country.
Wait. She's one of 5? Oh, shoot. She's up there.
This is the first one ever issued by a woman.
At that high of an office. 90s even early 2000s. Oh. 1997.
No.
Shoot. 2001.
Higher.
2005.
Oh.
2006.
Higher.
2008.
Higher.
2011.
Higher.
Dude. 2013.
Higher.
2015.
Higher.
2017.
Higher.
2020.
Higher.
2021.
Higher.
22.
Higher.
2023 then.
Yeah.
And I thought 2001 was probably pushing it. Man, 2023.
That is first of all, huge accomplishment.
Yeah, breaking into there.
Liz Littman.
Wow.
Yeah, so this was published February of 2023.
Man.